Hello guys, it's Victor once again. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So this is a special edition. I'll be having my second interview in this channel. My first interview was I think about a month ago. So this is the second interview. And in this interview, I'll be interviewing Dr. Kelechukwu. He's a multi-award winning scholar. He's a career coach and is an academic mentor. Personally, I'm quite skeptical about academic mentorship because I believe it provokes some form of dependency in applicants. So I'll be asking him how essential is academic mentorship when it comes to looking for international scholarships. I'll also be asking him about things like should people pay for what they call scholarship academies or scholarship consultancies. So there are a number of thought-provoking issues that will be raised in this interview. There are also general issues about scholarships, like common mistakes made by scholars. And since he has gone through a number of scholarship applications and statements of purpose, so he probably has a number of ideas to share with prospective scholars or applicants presently working on the applications. So it's going to be a fun time, guys, and an educative one as well. So grab your tea, grab your coffee, your soft drink. Also take a notebook and a pen to write down important points. And I believe there'll be lots of important points in this interview. So enjoy as I invite Dr. Kelechukwu to answer some of my thought-provoking questions. I actually have a number of questions written down here already. I don't know if you can see them. And it promises to be an exciting one. So sit back and enjoy. Yeah, so guys, we have our guest in the building, Dr. Kelechukwu Onwukamuke. I hope I got the pronunciation correctly. So I've already introduced him in the intro, and I'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself, his academic exploits, and probably what he's doing presently. So, Doctor, the floor is yours. Just a brief introduction.
Hello, Victor. Hi, Victor. Nice having me on your platform today. It's a pleasure, actually. And so, my name is Kelechukwu, like you rightly called. I'm Nigerian. I've done my first degree in chemistry in Futo in Nigeria. And I joined the Erasmus Mundus Masters, so the double masters program between the University of Oxford in Germany and the University of Bordeaux in France, working on functional advanced materials and engineering, or what is actually called the FAME Masters, Erasmus Mundus FAME Masters. And I completed this in July 2015. Then from February 2016, I joined the European Joint Doctoral Program, so it's a Marie Curie funded program on functional advanced materials. And so I was doing this between two universities, so the University of Bordeaux, where my specialization was on polymer chemistry, and the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany, where my specialization was in organic chemistry. And my PhD thesis was focused on developing sustainable methods of making materials from cellulose, so from renewable resources. Since July 2019, I've been a research scientist working for Procter & Gamble here in Germany.
Okay. And that's a very long profile, but it shows your vast experience and your vast achievements. So thank you very much for making out time from your busy schedule, because I know you're quite a busy man. So let's go straight into the question. I know my subscribers are already anticipating your comment and your responses to these questions. So I have a number of them, and I hope they're not too many for you. So I know you're a career coach, you're a scholarship mentor, and I see most of your posts on LinkedIn, and I think you're encouraging lots of people. And I would like to ask that how essential is academic mentoring for those applying for postgraduate scholarships? How important is it for applicants?
Yeah. I would say it's as important as each applicant deems it necessary. The reason being that as much as you are not aware of something, then you don't know that it exists. Especially if you don't also know how to go about it. I give you a very good example. The Erasmus Mundus Masters program that I did, as of 2013, in fact, when I told my friends about Erasmus Mundus, many of them didn't even know what that meant, right? And now compared to this year, they have over 100 Nigerians receiving this scholarship. In fact, Nigeria has become not only the highest in Africa on this prestigious scholarship, but among the top three in the world. And what has been different is information propagation. We have been more vocal about it. They have a group on Facebook. They are able to guide students. Not that we don't have very good students. It's always a matter of even to know that something exists. So when it comes to mentoring, I think it's always important to differentiate what it actually means, right? Yeah. Like for some people, mentoring could actually mean like taking somebody by the hand, but that's not how I see it, right? Mentoring was about pointing someone in the way, right? So that they know that something exists. They are able now to like put in their own effort. So when it comes down to information, I feel that at the end of the day, if you are not able to know that something exists, even if you finish with the first class or you have a very good grade, but you are not even aware of what exists or what you can even do, the opportunities exactly, even for you to like know how to write, to search for the right programs could also be very challenging. So that's why I said to the extent to which each person finds it necessary.
Yeah, that's a good response. So, did you have any mentor while applying for your own scholarship? Was there someone there pointing you to the right places, or you did it on your own?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I say I was very fortunate, really early on, because my elder brother was on Erasmus Mundus Masters. Wow, and that is even why I knew that this scholarship exists exactly. And during his time, so yeah, he was there, and in fact, the program that I applied for, I remember telling him something like, "Oh no, I want to just do something on chemistry. I want to focus on chemistry." And he was like, "Why? Why do you think this is what you want to do?" And I could not really answer that question. So when he was there to like point me, okay, why not check these other programs on Erasmus Mundus? It's applied chemistry. So what I eventually did was on functional advanced materials engineering, which I would have even not had a second look because it didn't appear to me like something that is interesting from a chemistry point of view. So I would say that if there was no him, right? If there was no him in my life, I would have imagined things to be much difficult because I don't see any other way. Or in fact, now it has gotten better because now you have all these posts on LinkedIn, on Twitter, a lot of people coming up, a lot of scholars sharing their experience. But if you consider 10 years ago, you literally had to call someone on phone to even tell you what they're doing. So information was not that easy to come by. So now it's easier that you could find your feet, right? Just by being proactive, following up people that you are looking up to and getting information. But it wasn't this way in 2013. So definitely he played a very key role.
So talking about our information age where you have lots of things online, is it possible for somebody to make it without any form of mentorship?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's why I said most times when people say mentoring, it always comes to be like some big word that kind of pushes a lot of people away. Like mentoring could also be someone watching your YouTube channel, following the content that you create, right?
Possibly.
Following that guidance. That is mentoring. But when you want to look at like, oh, I had no help from anybody, it's literally not always possible because you needed that information from somewhere. Someone told you that check off this site, or someone told you, okay, why not check this way? There's a form of information that you got that guides you. But when it comes down to somebody holding you by the hand, as an example, maybe somebody reviewing your CV or your statement of purpose or things like this, that could be a bit different, right? Because there you could say that, okay, I did have somebody review it,
hands-on,
but how hands-on exactly, but how did you achieve it? Perhaps following informations, content created by people that have gone through that pathway.
Yeah.
Like you have videos on how to write a good statement of purpose. So somebody might not literally give you their statement of purpose to correct, but they watch your video and then they get their guidance, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is mentoring. That is mentoring. So we need to really disseminate that idea that mentoring has to be a person, an authority that has to stamp something for you to now say you are able to go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good thing you're mentioning that because I don't know if that's the perspective of those applying. because I have this, I've come across this, what I call it, dependency mentality. They feel if they don't have somebody there to anoint their work, a hands-on individual to help them, it's like they're not going to make it. So, for instance, someone sends me something, and I'm like, I do not have time to check it. So, if you're not in a hurry, give it to somebody else. The person feels like it's the end of the world, and authority has failed him, or something like that. So I think that's the kind of mentoring people I think are expecting. Not that's why I'm very slow to call myself a mentor. What I say is that I give out content. So those making their research might stumble over my content and use it for their own good. So mentorship, I'm not sure of how wide it is or how narrow it is. So personally, for those who are familiar with my responses on LinkedIn or online, I'll be like, I'm not very quick to calling myself a mentor. But when it comes to giving you a guide, that's fine. I'll give you resources you could use to equip yourself. So do you have any reaction to that before we go to the
Yeah.
next step?
So exactly, I think it's just a matter of how people want to define what mentoring actually means. Mentoring to me is providing guidance, okay, and this guidance could be in many forms. It could
Mm-hmm.
be in terms of one-on-one call. It could be in terms of advice, in terms of posts. For instance, my posts are viewed thousands and thousands of times,
Mm-hmm.
and I do not even get to interact with these people one-on-one. But I have many of them write to tell me that your post has kept me going. It's because of your post that I kept persisting and I got this scholarship, even though I've never even seen any of their write-up.
So will it be
Right?
right to say
So
that there are different categories of mentorship or different categories of
I,
guidance?
yeah, exactly. I think at the end of the day, it's still that guidance. And mentoring is guidance. And so that's why I said it's not a matter of holding somebody by the hand. And of course, like if you move to that point where you have someone, like you said, someone sent you something and you didn't have the time, the person feels like, okay, if Victor doesn't have a look on this, then it's not good enough. I cannot have confidence on it. I think this aspect of dependency is what I do not encourage, right?
Yeah,
So the
that's true.
idea which I actually push to my mentees down is always creating your own dependency. Know how to do it, right? Knowing how you have to do things.
Yeah,
Not only feeling that if Casey doesn't have a look on it, then it's not good enough.
it's not going to work.
Because at the end of the day, when you know how to do things by watching videos, going over great contents that a lot of people are creating online, creating network, right? Following up people and getting support, you would be able to do this yourself. And I think at the end of the day, that is only what is sustainable. So if you do not have someone that says, okay, you are my mentee, and you feel like now I have that privilege. I mean, at the end of the day, I always tell on my connections that you don't have to be in a platform that I created simply because it's easier to manage people that way in terms of information, right?
Okay.
I remember in the past, I had to like respond to the same thing to hundreds of people, and I said, okay, I think this is not sustainable. Now I make videos, right, to answer those questions, and I say, okay, watch this video, and I think a lot of them, this is what I've shared to them, and they watch this video and say, oh, it has answered most of the questions that I would
That
have
you've
asked from
asked.
you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That
So,
is
okay,
information, but at the end of the day, yes. So mentoring, I would just say it's really a function of how people want to define it, and
to define
I
it.
really hope that they do not feel that there is an authority somewhere that needs to bless their work for them
Okay.
to feel like it's good
Yeah,
enough.
this I'll never leave you until you bless me mentality. Yeah. So there was this post I put up on LinkedIn I think some days ago. You probably saw it about how I got mine without any mentorship. But with this discussion, I think
Okay.
probably I had resources I had to research for myself, resources I saw online. So probably that could count as a broad form of or a narrow form of mentoring, depending on your definition. But there's a line I want you to
Exactly.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, Victor. I think it's when whoever it is, no matter what level the person is, even my own brother, right, that was mentoring and guiding me all along. He had someone. He knew about Erasmus Mundus through someone. In fact, in his
Mm-hmm.
own time, it was really passingly. The person just told me, "Oh, there is an Erasmus." He didn't even put the Mundus. Because also
Yeah.
think about it, many years ago, people were not that open to let you know how they get things done, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Very secretive
Yeah.
and all
Village
the
people.
information. Exactly. So the person said Erasmus, and it took him like a lot of months to actually know there is a mundus attached, right? Because Erasmus is an exchange program in Europe, if you know that. So it's
Yes,
not,
yes,
it's
yes.
different from Erasmus
Erasmus
Mundus.
Mundus. That's
So
true.
at the end of the day, we all had some form of support.
But will you call
And
that person
if you want,
necessarily? Will you call that person necessarily a mentor? The person that just mentioned it and probably walked away, or said this in a conversation, and you went to do the research. Will you necessarily call that person a mentor?
at the end of the day, that's what the person did. So that's why I said I wouldn't put it very strong on the word, because it now makes
Okay.
it look like, oh, it has to be someone that held you by the hand. That
Yeah.
information was necessary for him to even know where to look, right?
Yeah.
And so this is very important. So we all had someone that pointed us where to look. And
Well,
of course, at the end of the day, at
okay.
the end of the day, either someone pointed you, or you had to find something, but there was
Something. Yeah.
content
Yeah.
that guided
Exactly.
you,
Exactly.
and those content were created by someone.
Somebody.
It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just
I
someone
agree to
exactly.
that.
So
Those contents were created by somebody, and probably that helps
it
you
was
in
created by
your own.
somebody.
Yeah. 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 That's true. So there's this line.
Exactly.
There is this line I want you to react to in that post. It's just one line. It's importantly, I am not in a hurry to share in your shine. So when you make it, you don't need to bow before my altar. What's your reaction when you hear that thing as regards mentorship?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it always comes down to what is your motivation for what you do, right? So what is your passion, and why are you doing what you're doing? um, what motivates you to want to help people? Is it because you want to share in their shine, or is it because you are inherently happy for them to grow?
Okay.
I leave it for people to define what is their motivation to help others, right? But for me, helping others is something that gives me joy, because I see it as a lubricant also for your own growth,
Growth.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's by helping others that you keep growing. So for me, helping people is important. It's something that I value. It's a core principle that I have. So
Okay.
it doesn't come with any other interest. So I have no interest
I was about to ask you that. What's your ulterior
in
motive?
like expecting them. Exactly. So I have many people come to me and say, but like, is someone paying you? This
I
year we
was
had
about
over
to ask that. Do you get paid for mentoring
scholarship.
people?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, sincerely, when I look at how much you can pay me to feel the joy that I have helping someone that lost hope, just giving somebody hope, no amount of money can pay that.
Okay.
In
That's
fact, I
that's
can. There's no amount of money that can pay it. So it completely fills me with like giving somebody hope, just one
okay.
person. So at the end of the day, that should be what drives. What is the reason, right, for
You are
you to
behind
help
your
people?
helping. Yeah, that's
If
true.
it's about, if there is a motive for you, like there's a benefit that you want to get raised, or motivation, and I leave each person to define what is their motivation for wanting to help people. I think it really depends, but I agree with you. I also share similar line, that you don't have to exactly. It doesn't come down to. I give you an example. I think it would help to explain my. One times a connection of mine wrote me, right, and he wanted an information about, he was applying for Erasmus Mundus scholarship,
Okay.
and there was one part that was not clear to him, which was about what they call proof of residence.
Okay.
Okay, he was like, he has gotten
Excuse me.
everything, but he doesn't know how to write this proof of residence. And so it was like, for me, 2 minutes conversation. I just sent him the information on what to do, and that was it. I completely forgot it. You forget. Okay, you forget. You don't remember it. You don't remember that you did something for someone. You are not counting on it.
Yeah,
So I
that's
was
true.
surprised that he wrote a couple of months later that he got that scholarship. I was so happy for him. He said it
That's
wouldn't
good.
have been possible if you did not give me this information. I said, but I didn't do anything. I just gave you something that I would have given to anybody.
Anybody?
You
Yeah,
did all
that's
the work. And I think it comes down to that aspect that they do all the work. And that is why I'm always very clear to people that want to join my group. That is not a miracle center where because you are a mentee now you get a scholarship. It's not true. you can do it on your own out of it. So have it at the back of your mind that you have to lead this goal yourself. Like when it comes down to what I can do and I cannot do, it's always very clear that they have to take the work themselves. You have to do your work yourself.
Okay.
So you don't come to me and you want a sample of an SOP. No, you have to write yours yourself. I'm
Okay.
happy to find the time to go over it, but I also want you to even go over those of others. In fact, in my group, there's always the pairing task where mentees get to correct each other's write-ups. So to build up that confidence that yes, I can do this, I know exactly what I want to do. Because at the end of the day, nobody is really kind of an authority. We are all learners in this field,
Yeah.
right? And it's not surprising that you like ignore the fact that other people can actually be doing a better job in terms of what they have written, even without
Yeah.
your anointing.
That's true. So let's move on to another question. This is probably out of the area of mentorship to scholarships in general. And the question is scholarships are not for everybody. True or false? Where do you stand?
I think that is very broad. I wouldn't rule out. And in fact, I would first start by saying what scholarships,
Okay, postgraduates
because
like
at the end of
postgraduate
the day,
scholarships, like your
yeah. So
Erasmus,
again,
like
that's why I said
Commonwealth.
depend. Yes, I wouldn't rule out. I wouldn't be the one to say scholarships are not for everybody. I would leave people that feel they are not up for scholarships to decide that themselves. The reason being that even people with a third class can get some type of scholarships, and I
Okay.
have examples.
Oh, really? Give
So if you want
examples.
to go
You
down
can
to say
inspire
okay,
somebody.
yes,
You don't need to mention the
yes,
names, though.
yes, of course,
Yeah.
yes. No, so exactly. So at the end of the day, you need to understand where you want to play, right? And what do you need to do into that area. A very good example: consider someone that graduated with a third class, right? Say in computer science, because I don't want to give specific names out, but
Yeah.
now decides to go and he's or she's very good, but for one reason, many reasons could go wrong for people to graduate
Yeah.
with a third class,
Lecturers, strike,
right? Then this
sickness.
person go many things, many factors, and so this person goes on to really be very good in programming, very very good in programming. You cannot beat what he does or she does, and he puts up his application, has a perfect GRE score. When do you want to argue that?
That's
You
true.
put you need at the end of the day you need to build the profile of what you are presenting. If you come with a third class and you tell somebody, oh, I have a third class because the lecturer was this and that, the university was that, it doesn't sell you. You don't sell
What were you
yourself
able
that
to
way.
do after
You need to
that?
build what do you bring on the table.
Yeah.
And imagine someone with a third class, yes, a third class, but having strong skills that can bring value to a professor's lab
Mm-hmm.
and having a very good GRE score. Why then you look at the GRE score and say, but GRE score is measuring the aspect that I want to check in my graduate students, and this person has it. Of course, something may have gone wrong, and this is something the person can explain. So
Yeah.
that's why I would feel that for me, when somebody says scholarship are not for everyone, I want to understand that how do you define everyone? What
Everyone.
is your
Okay.
yardstick of defining who and everyone is? I know for sure that if you are persistent, important, not just being persistent, if you are persistent with the right direction
Mm-hmm.
on a goal, you can achieve it.
Achieve it.
The
Yeah,
question
that's a
is
good one
about how long do you want to wait for it?
for
How
it.
important is it for you?
I think that
How
point is very
important
important.
is that goal for you?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a great
So
response.
I
So
will not rule out anybody from scholarship. Yeah.
that's a good one. Let's move to another a little bit controversial point, and it's what they call scholarship academies or paid consultancies, where people have to go there, get scholarship tips, but they have to pay for that service. What's your opinion about it? Should people pay for things like that? And what is your perspective on those paying for it and those
Um,
receiving the payment?
Actually, I think there is nothing wrong in that. It's a service, right? And if in fact, funny enough, today I was checking some interview past questions for some companies, right? And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? Every site that had those past questions, I needed to pay for it. Simple. Like I
Okay.
think if you go online and check past questions on so 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 so,
Yeah,
companies
but that's different
online
from
assessment
a
or
scholarship,
interview.
though.
I'm coming down to it. I
Okay.
want to talk about service, right?
Okay.
Service. You are providing a service, right? It's a service.
Yeah.
Now, what I would not be comfortable with is when someone like these materials that someone has it online of past questions, you have access to it, and even on tips. So some tips are sold. You have to buy it because this person has experience and he has granted interviews to many people. He knows where people can get mistakes in an interview. He gives you the props up and all. You pay for that experience that they have, and then
Okay.
they give you access to resources, to resource materials. Then most times they are not even the creator of those materials. Maybe there are some, but not everyone.
So
But they
you're
also
against
give you
this?
access.
You're against this, or you're
No,
for
no,
it?
no, no. I said I am not against paid services to get paid services to get support for what you want and what you think is important. What I'm against is when this paid services is sold as the scholarship itself or the job itself. Okay.
Okay.
So an example, if someone says pay 1 naira and I will guarantee that if I review your SOP, you will get a scholarship. I am totally against that because it's fraud. You cannot guarantee that except you are
No,
the
the person will
scholarship
get it.
awarding body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, that's the only way. The same with a job. If somebody tells me, okay, I have these resources, you need to pay for it to get access to it. Fine. If I think I really need those resources, I will pay for it to get those resources and prepare for this for the interview, for the job interview. But if the person tells me, pay for this, and I would guarantee that you with these materials you will get a job, I would say that is fraud because as long as you are not the hiring manager, you cannot
Yeah, you
guarantee
have
me of a
no.
job,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
So
So
my
it
observation.
comes
Okay.
that, yeah.
My observation is
So it comes.
okay.
Mm.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
So I know that when it comes down to like Nigeria, I think there was one time that someone made that comment that, oh, how can someone pay for these services when you are not guaranteeing the scholarship? And I said, okay, let's put it together. I correct SOPs motivation letters in their hundreds. A lot of it. I still do it today. When I'm chance, I do it. I do it a lot and I do not charge. That is fine. This is something that I want to do because I can afford that that opportunity to
Opportunity to
do
do it
it
for
for
free.
free. Yes, it's important. Take note of that. I can afford the opportunity to do it for free. Now, if this was what I live on, if this was my source of livelihood, if this is because you have that talent, but this is what I have to live on, then I cannot do it for free because I need to do it to raise how to live, which is not
Okay.
fraud because it's a service that you are providing. You take somebody's SOP, you correct it, as long as you are telling the person, I'm going to make it better, make sure that it's up to standard based on my experience. It's the experience that you're actually selling, right?
Okay. Let
Then
me
I can
table
do
my
it for you.
observations, my contrary views. Okay.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
My view number one is that
So
scholarships most times are for those coming from developing countries already have financial issues, and some students already or applicants already have to pay for things like the GRE or the TOEFL or the IELTS or even application fees. So there are a lot of expenses already. Scholarships can already be quite expensive. So adding an extra cost by reviewing an essay or giving guidelines, I think it's a little bit too much when it comes to people coming from a developing country where finance is already a challenge. So what do you have to say about that?
I accept. Victor, 100%. I accept that with you. Absolutely correct. Again, what I did said was, if you find that this is important for you, that is the investment that you want to put into that same bucket. Okay, in the sense that if you are not even able, remember, at the end of the day, I do not have it against people. I don't do it not because it's not good. I don't do it because I can afford not to do it. But there are people that cannot afford not to do it without getting paid because they depend on this service. I paid a lot of scholarship fees, application fees, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of schools. And sometimes when some of my mentees come and tell me, but no, I don't want to apply to schools that have no application fee. Most times I always tell them to weigh the difference. A very good example. A mentee came to me one time and said he needs to pay about 40,000 application.
Okay.
And he wanted to get my opinion about this scholarship. So I told him, let's put it down to numbers. How much is the worth of this scholarship? Every month you are getting about 600,000 naira. Okay, that is the worth of the scholarship for 2 years versus 40,000. So the question is, do you have 40,000? He said he can manage to raise it up. I said fine.
Okay.
The next question is, what would you do otherwise? Like, what is your confidence on this scholarship? He said he's very confident. In fact, he had been shortlisted to the last set. Like, he
Okay.
has even more probability of having it. I said, okay, what will it take to risk 40,000? He said, yes, it will be difficult, but I can risk it. I said, then go ahead. He
But
got it.
still, this is application fee that has to be paid. But the question is extra, like tips, statement of purpose review, things like that, webinars
It
on,
could come.
yeah.
It could come into that. It could come into that same bucket. That if someone comes to me and say that, oh, I know of this resource, I know that this. I am confident that I need this information. I need this information. It's the same thing somebody would tell you about. Why should you even pay for online um, um, or even normal trainings, right? That people are offering, or even some people pay for job tips, right? People organize webinars on tips on job tips, and people pay for it because they want that information. So the question I always ask people is, what is the worth of the value of what you are paying for? If even if you don't have any money, the money you don't have today is different from what you are projecting to have. But if you feel that attending this webinar, getting this material would increase my chance, and you are confident. Yeah.
I just observed something. You've tackled the issue a lot from the perspective of the applicant, but not enough from the perspective of the service provider. And I'd like to add something quickly. Most of these service providers are past recipients of these scholarships. And probably they've also gathered like the experience we talked about. And I'm sure for most of them, this is not their only source of income. Maybe most, not all, probably. I don't know what they actually do. But this is not their only source of income. So for something you received freely, I think there's an ethical issue of commercializing it. Something you gain freely, probably with your own research, and now you're like giving it at a cost to others. So from that perspective of those giving the scholarship, you probably enjoyed years of free studies, and now it's like, yeah, now a gatekeeper giving it to the highest bidder, those that can pay. That's what do you think about that?
Yeah, I like the way that you have framed it. So if you look at it from the aspect of what this has become, as I said, 10 years ago, you could handpick the number of people that are getting certain type of scholarships, right? And why now, also look at it from the aspect of why is scholarship becoming a big thing for Nigerian youths today? Because it has become a door, a window through which they can achieve their potential. So there is a market. Okay, there is a market. And put it together the same way, a scholarship that ends up giving you 50,000 euros as a reward, that is a big market that many people want to go there. Many people want any content in that direction attracts
Attention.
huge traffic.
Yeah.
Get attention because people need this information. Now, for people that have understood the same way that you would look at people that jobs, right? People that are giving tips for jobs. Everybody wants to go there. When you find any post on job links or job tips, people are going there because there is a huge market. Now, some people now that have felt that, okay, I have identified the market and I have that value. Because at the end of the day, the biggest challenge that I think we have always had as maybe Nigerians or Africans is the cost of service, being paid for a service, right? Like we feel, like you said, that ethical feeling.
Yeah, my problem is, do you need to commercialize? My problem is not whether the service is, whether I should pay for a particular service or not. My problem is there are certain things that shouldn't be commercialized. That's my problem. Everything is not a market. That's where I'm coming from that perspective. Not everything is a market.
I see.
Yeah.
I completely see that your point, but the part that you are not considering here is, say, as an example, someone feels that 2 hours of my time
to correct your SOP is worth this much that I cannot give for free. That is their own, it's left for the individual person to assess that.
So you not make an ethical judgment on that, but you allow the individual make the ethical judgment.
Because at the end of the day, they have to assess what that time means to them and how they want to use it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's
okay,
a fair.
now, if you come down to the next point, someone approaches you and says, like many people approach me and say, okay, please, I have an SOP I want you to correct. I correct a lot of them. I think a lot of the people that watch this video would assent to that. And I always tell them, I mean, send it early enough. And maybe you might even be on a queue in a month, because I'm not chance to give, I don't do it halfway. If I want to do something, I want to do it well. And if you see SOPs that I've corrected, they are most times turned upside down, because I don't want to just do it for the sake of, okay, let me just do it. I want to do it well. And it takes quite some, maybe an hour or so to really go through and make all the different corrections. And this is not a guarantee that this person gets it. Some brings 3 and I say, I can only do one, choose one, but I can only do it within the month. I am not chanced before. If that person feels that, no, I want it tomorrow. In fact, a lot of people have actually come to me a lot and said, please, I want to pay for it. How much will it cost? I said, my time is too expensive that if I want to give it to you to pay, it's too expensive.
Can't afford it.
I'd rather do it free. Exactly. And that is why I do it free. Most times it's true. So for some people that want it immediate and they are coming to your time and says, oh, you know, I want this thing tomorrow. If that is a service, you would say, okay, fine. This is a service. You are paying for it. Then I can give you that time. So that's why I leave that judgment. I wouldn't
to those
that
people.
Judgment because I'm not in people's shoes on how they determine what they want to be paid for. And in fact, I give you an example, something that happened some time ago. Someone made a post and was charging for a training on, I think it was on Erasmus Mundus Masters. He was charging about 5,000 or thereabout.
A lot of money.
one of my mentee went to the post and was like, oh, this is wrong. Casey does this, all of this for months for free. And how can you even guarantee, blah, blah. I just came and I came to that post and said, this is very wrong what you have done. In fact, I had to call that mentee aside and say, don't do something like this.
Yeah, not in the public at least.
Even if it's in public or in private, people decide how they want to
run their own. Yeah, that's true. That's another point.
Yeah, so people have to decide for themselves what they want to do. And you that wants to pay for it, you have to decide
for your own self. Yeah, that's true. Nobody is forced to pay. Yeah, nobody is forced to pay for it. That's true, though. That's true.
I'll give you an example. Think about all these, how do they call motivational speakers that are paid 3, 4, 5 million for speaking for 1 hour, 2 hours, just to motivate people.
Yeah.
How do we draw that line? Like, imagine you now tomorrow, you are now some big shot and people have to pay you 5 million or even 10 million. How do they assess?
But there's something you're still forgetting. But I've gotten the main point. But scholarship is a little bit different. We should avoid what I call false equivalence, because like these scholarships, most people are applying for it already are a little bit in financial difficulties from developing countries that might have a problem already getting finances to study abroad. Then it's a way of helping those from developing countries, a form of social mobility. So adding an extra cost to that's just where my own problem. I'm not saying a problem, but it's not my issue. So where I have a concern is that adding an extra cost to people with financial burdens already is a little bit, Then not just give it for free. But if you feel, I'll also leave it to personal judgment. Now, if you feel you want to commercialize your time and you feel you need the money, so I think you go. But personally, I don't think I'll put a cost on it.
I completely agree with you that people applying are already coming from a disadvantaged position. But what you also need to put together is someone that decides to pay a cost understands the value. I think that is just the point where we need to be very, very clear. If it's the same with applying and deciding, I have people that have told me, yes, I have a high chance in this program, but I will not apply because I can't afford TOEFL. And I've clearly told them, okay, if you cannot afford TOEFL, but you're about to spend 1 more year, right? What is the cost of 1 more year at home? And then it begins to ring a bell that, okay, actually it's more expensive to stay back.
You pay TOEFL.
I'd rather make this investment.
Yeah, I would like it if you give the example with this particular academies I'm talking about. So we don't compare things that are not actually equal. Like you feel you would get this candidate feels you will get the scholarship or the chances increases by subscribing to these services. But I feel there are several resources online. Just a simple Google search, you see the trove of information. So probably these guys are commercializing this information and packaging it and selling out. Things people can get for free. That's just another funny part of the whole business. This you can just get for free online. You'd
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, the question always comes down to what do you want to do and what do you want others to do for you?
Yeah,
What do you want to, people might call it, what do you want to sublet to other people to do on your
to do for you, and if you're ready to pay for it,
and
right?
the more you sublet things for other people to do on your behalf, the more you depend on them, and the more you should not question how they want to deal with it.
Do it, yeah.
Because as long as you have moved your responsibility, like you said, if you want to, as of this current generation, you can find webinars that I did. I specifically consciously made the materials. I don't know if you have watched that video. It's like step-by-step guidance on
Yeah, I've seen it online. Yeah, that's
really
true.
Step-by-step.
And it's out there.
Exactly. So it was conscious. Exactly. So now when people come to me, I said, you know what? I made this video having you in mind. Go and watch it. Now,
Yeah, and even where to find scholarships. There are just lots of videos out there. And
I've written my SOP. I want you to review it for me. And say, okay, I've written my SOP. Can you review it for me? But I've told you how to write it. I don't have to review it for it to be good.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I want you to review it. It comes down to that part where I say, when you still move, and that dependency, as long it should be clear that when you put somebody up to do something for you, you have to listen to how they want to deal with it.
Do it for,
and it's now left for the person and their personality and what they want to get out of it to decide how to deal. But you as a person, I think what we can get out from this conversation is that you don't have to pay for anything because you have all these resources. You also need to believe in yourself that with these information, you are good enough.
That's true.
Okay?
But if you still feel you need assistance, if you can pay, well, that's your decision. yeah. I think it makes it clearer.
You cannot come to someone and say, you know, Victor, I have gone through all the information you have given me, but I still want you to review my SOP. And you say, no, I have no chance. Please, I want you to review it. I'm willing to pay. And then Victor has that services that he's able to provide it at a fee. You would not say that, oh, Victor, I want you to review, but please don't collect money, but I want you to review. And you say, I can do it in 2 weeks. No, the person wants it tomorrow. You cannot put all those constraints into one person. And then decide how it's going to come out. I think that is just being unfair to the person.
Yeah, that's that. It's a how will I put it? It's a two-sided. The story has two sides anyway. So personally, I won't do it. That's just what I'm trying to say, and I've given you my observations why I won't do it. Yeah,
exactly.
So it depends on the individual.
And the other part that you have to, I also ask this directly to you, is that when you can't do it, what is the alternative you are giving the person? So assuming somebody comes to you,
my YouTube videos.
Exactly, and the person has watched and still wants you to correct the error.
No, I think those videos there are several materials online that you don't even need, even editing softwares that will even edit your work for you. You know, things like Grammarly, you don't even have to pay for them. They tell you what you did wrong in your sentences. And
we come down, I still come down to that same point that there is still someone that still does. As long, I think what we need to keep selling at the end of the day, that's the point, that some people want to leverage on others for what they do. That's it. And every other thing that you are going to do will still come down to them to feel like if this is not reviewed, it's not good enough. Every other thing you are saying is grammar.
It's grammar. Yeah. So, and I don't think we should even encourage that kind of dependency mentality. That's they need anointing. They need this golden touch for their work to be transformed. I don't know. It's funny.
Dependency is not good. I think at the end of the day, people need. That's why the first point of anybody that I have to talk with is that you are good enough. You just need to be pointed what to do, right?
To do.
So the question should be where. Just point and you start digging. There's so much information, overwhelming information, much more than we ever had, to be very sincere with you, much more than we ever had.
That's
and
true.
You have all these YouTube channels, teaching all of this step by step, hand carrying. I basically did a webinar that is hand carrying you through a process, and you still have a lot of people coming back to ask the same question.
Yeah. So let's go to another issue.
And at the end of the day,
Yeah. You can finish your
yeah,
points
I'm
though.
finished.
Yeah, I understand the excitement about this issue. Yeah, let's go to the
So I
yeah.
think at the end of the day, yeah, let me just round up this one. At the end of the day, we have to accept one point. The point is that as long as you move your responsibility or what you need to do to other people,
Mm-hmm.
you have to negotiate with them how they want to deal with
To
it.
do it. Yeah.
If you come with a priority, if you come with a choice, if you come with a limit, a time, a frame, all those points, that means the person needs to forget everything they are doing and deliver your own work, then there could be a price associated, and you should negotiate that with the person. But if you don't want to do it, which I hope you don't, because you are intelligent and you can deal with these things yourself, fine, you can take care of it. And that is
Yeah.
why we are having this video. There are all these resources online that you can leverage on.
Yeah, that's a beautiful response. So let's go back to the basics, the basic tips about scholarship. Just the common mistakes you think you've witnessed among applicants. I know you'd have gone through several applications and SOPs and things like that. So what are the basic or general mistakes that applicants make while applying for international scholarship?
I think the first is underestimating how much time a scholarship application can actually take. So I've had situations where someone comes to me and says, I plan to apply for 10 scholarships this year. And I'm like, how is that possible? I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but can you show me a plan on how you
Okay.
will achieve this? I want to see a plan that this scholarship needs so information. I would need so time to deal with it. And I've given myself this time to take care of this. And at the end of the day, the informations don't add up. I'm like, if you have 10 scholarship, you can apply on paper, you can write it down and it's true. But do you understand the amount of details that you have to put in each of these scholarships to make it good, to make it the best? So when you apply for a scholarship, you have to be conscious that this is a global competition, right? Everybody, some people, to be sincere with you, I didn't even realize how much time some people have taken to work on their SOPs. Some people work on their SOP for months, have it reviewed by almost everybody that they know, as much as possible.
As
To be
possible.
sincere, like even their professors review it, it's structured, it's like you cannot imagine. And you write an SOP over one night and you want to compete with that person. Really?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot
So
of sense.
I think that's the first thing, underestimating how much time that you have to to prepare for a scholarship, okay, to make an application. The second one I would say is that instructions.
Okay.
I would have put instructions as the first, but since I know that you underestimating can easily be something that you say, I apply for 10 scholarship or all the scholarship that come your way, you want to apply, you are not selective, then you can run down to this aspect of instructions, because if you factor in instructions, you would see you cannot apply for all scholarships. Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
Some
Just like a
instructions
job
will still just rule
application.
you out.
If you pay attention to every sentence, you might just say, "No, this is not for me."
And you focus. If I always tell people that of course, I'm a big fan of don't rule yourself out, but don't rule yourself out when you don't have to. So as
Yeah.
an example, assuming that there are 5 scholarships you are interested in, and of these 5 scholarships, there is 2 that really meet your background, your requirements, you met those requirements, I would prioritize these 2. They might not be the most
Prestigious of
flamboyant,
scholarships. Yeah.
prestigious, but these are where you have your biggest chance. I would prioritize those ones. Now, for the other ones, before I even make an application, maybe they said they need someone with biological sciences and I did chemistry. I would want to connect with the coordinator of the program to know if I'm eligible.
Yeah. If it's
To know
worth
if I'm
applying for
putting
in the
my
first
energy.
place. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Exactly. So
That's
I
true.
want to make sure that I factor and put my energy where it counts, not applying for 5 scholarships where I have the best option on 2, but simply diluting the energy on those 2 because I want to apply to these 5s, and the 3 of them will not be considered. And now I have not given the 2 the best.
The best. Yeah,
So
yeah. That's clear.
requirement, you really have to check on the requirement. The third one I would say is that when it comes down to the application itself, like really taking the time, as I said, underestimating time, but I still come to the third point. I said, really understanding that applying for a scholarship is a job, right? It's a job. It takes time. It takes effort. And the fourth one is about really underestimating how long it could take for you to win a scholarship and then giving up, right?
Okay.
Getting frustrated. So I think
Frustrated.
the first thing that, like one of the criteria that I always encourage people to have is to be resilient. I applied for scholar. I started applying for scholarship in my fourth year. I applied in my fourth year, in my fifth year, when I was serving, before I got. So
Yeah,
for
I had to wait
me,
for 2 years as well. So
exactly, and at the end of the day, I've also seen people that got it their first year. In fact,
first
I
try.
have
Yeah,
mentees that
I actually had
their
an
first
interview
year
with
they got
somebody
it.
who had just one application and one scholarship. That was it. He didn't even have to go around and start looking for opportunities.
Exactly. And I always tell people that for me, I'm a strong believer that we all have destinies. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
believe that, but that is what it is. We all have a destiny, a God-given destiny on how we should grow, where we should be. And we just have to always be ready, right? Because you cannot be able to like differentiate when that time would come. So you just have to put in your shot and knowing that one of it is that time, and you just have to be ready waiting for it.
Yeah,
And so I strongly believe that people that get it in their first shot is their time. It's their time. They get it.
exactly.
It doesn't mean you are late, or it doesn't mean I was not intelligent enough for the first 3 times. I always feel that what is important is the process. So trust the process. Trust the process you are going through. Because when you trust the process, you do not feel that, oh, I did not get a scholarship. No, you see yourself that, oh, I now know what I could do better, or I now
Yeah,
know what I should improve on. So
improve
you keep
upon.
improving on the process. And at the end of the day, when the scholarship comes, that is not the end. That is not the winning. That is not you have stopped, you have finished, you have achieved. No, it's simply just another step for you to even grow more. You know
Self
what it
advancement.
meant
Yeah,
for you
that's
to
true.
get there. Exactly. So
Yeah,
at the end of the day, I think we also need to see scholarship as not the end of itself, but really people could get scholarship and then they come into the program and they realize what it actually means, right?
yeah, yeah.
What
Thanks for
amount
that.
of work you have to put up. So
Yeah, thanks for that.
very
Now, I think this
important.
should be one of our last questions. It's just about that there are universities and there are universities. Probably the same with scholarships as well. That universities are not equally ranked, departments are not equally ranked. Should applicants consider these things while applying for scholarships or applying for admission? Because I believe, as you said, getting a scholarship is just a beginning of a journey, actually. Because when you graduate, there's life after scholarship. You have to be marketable, you have to look for a job. So, the number of things you need to pay attention to why looking for a scholarship or why applying. So, what kind of things should people pay attention to? University rankings or department rankings? Every university, yeah, I think, yeah, just go on. I think I've made that point clear.
Yes, Victor, I really like this question. I think I've gotten it a lot of time. And for me, to be very sincere with you, my own personal opinion, when I started applying for scholarships, if you gave me a scholarship to Russia, I would go, no second thought. If you gave me a scholarship to Czech
To
Republic, to
Japan,
Poland, to anywhere, I would go straight away,
yeah,
because
but they have
somebody
good
told
universities
me,
there as well. So, yeah, it's not about the
so
country itself. Yeah, they have universities, good universities
to be
everywhere.
to be sincere with you, when I was applying for scholarships, I wasn't looking at ranking. In fact, I
Okay.
didn't even know what was the rank of the university. I was interested in doing something, and somebody is paying for me to do it. If I have a choice, I can choose. If I don't have a choice, I will take it. Now, if I look back now, I think the only part that I would perhaps correct a bit is to like say, okay, what are the other options that you could have had,
You could have
right?
had, yeah, yeah,
Um, because to be sincere with you, if I got a scholarship to go to go somewhere as the only scholarship, it would be very difficult to convince me not to go.
not to go. Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
now,
That's a good point.
when it comes down to the ranking, um, I think at the end of the day, many factors could play in. I mean, at the master's level, I wouldn't be so concerned,
Okay.
because if it's core research, I would be concerned a bit if they do not have the resources for me to do the research.
Yeah, that's a
This
concern.
I would be concerned, but so I would be concerned down to the level of the group.
Okay.
Where I
What
was
about
able to
employability,
get
for
a PhD.
instance? Whether you want, some people want to stay there, they want global opportunities, and there's some countries you go to, you're a little bit, sheltered from the world. And I don't want to mention names, but yeah, there are
Yeah,
there are some places you go
exactly.
to. Yeah.
I think that that is very important to take note in terms of what happens after. And that is why I
After,
said
yeah,
scholarship is not an end of itself.
yeah, that's
But
true.
at the end of the day, when it comes down to selecting, remember, yes, you can apply to all the Ivy League colleges in the US, but this also means it's much more competitive, right? And the
Mm-hmm,
chance
mm-hmm,
of you
mm-hmm.
getting a scholarship is even lower.
Yeah,
So the chance of getting it somewhere else could be much higher, and this
higher.
could be where you have your best shot. So you
Yeah,
want to also put your energy where you have the best shot.
yeah.
Now, when it comes down to employability, I think at the end of the day, what people employ is not the certificate anymore, it's your skill,
Okay, yeah,
demonstrated
that's a
skills.
good one.
I remember when I was doing my PhD, of course, I was fortunate enough that I did a PhD in one of the best universities in
Yeah,
Nigeria.
Karlsruhe is
But
a
to be
good
sincere
place.
with you,
It's a,
but I
yeah.
didn't even know this university existed when I was in my master's. I didn't know
Okay.
that it existed. To be sincere with you, I didn't know it existed. I was not, when I got in, I didn't even realize how prestigious a university it was. So it
Mm-hmm,
wasn't it wasn't an incoming consideration for me. But
mm-hmm,
what I did consider was, what do I make out from my thesis? And
mm-hmm.
that is what is going to differentiate me
From,
from
yeah.
others, not the university.
Yeah, I think for a
Something,
PhD, that is very important because it's about your research in the first place. So you might do
that is very
something bigger
important.
than somebody in a bigger higher ranked university. But
Absolutely.
there's this experience I had while doing my first masters in London. There are some big employers that came on campus. There was this job fair, lots of employers, and they invited lots of students from London universities. And this famous employer said that when he receives applications, that the first thing they do most times is just to screen it down to universities. And that is not a coincidence that some certain organizations have employees from some certain universities. So it's like a way
Very
of,
true.
you have thousands of people already. So you just cut it that, okay, people from this university are in, people from those are out, except probably you have this exceptional skill and you're able to break through the barrier if you're not from a highly ranked university. So I raised that as a problem, and it was
That is
like,
very true.
that's just because you can't see. It's a good first impression to have a good name on your CV or on your certificates. But for I think for a PhD it's a little bit
I cannot
different.
deny that.
Yeah, for a PhD
I
it's a little
cannot
bit
deny that
different
point.
because because you have your research to speak for you. Your research to speak
Exactly. But
for you.
remember
Yeah.
that at the end of the day, if the person is not going to pay for it because it's scholarship, then
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
choice is not that
It's
easy.
not a hard one to make. You just say, I'll go. Yeah, yeah. That's another
That's
thing.
always the
Also,
point.
based on my own experience as well. But I think you went to FUTO, right? Federal University of Technology in Owerri. So I went to
Mhm.
IMSU, and Nigerian universities are also ranked. We have the Obafemi, Nsukka, and all of you. You're up there, and we were down here.
Mhm.
But I've made my progression through from IMSU to where I am presently. So it's also a testament that with personal initiative, personal hard work, and things like that, could always climb the ladder. So while might be
Of
probably
course.
for job interviews, they might always prioritize the burdens and photo. But with your own personal effort, you can always break through those ranks and climb the ladder. That's what I feel as well. I don't know.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, the product of the university system is not your certificate, it's you,
Yeah, yeah,
the person,
that's
right?
true.
And
That's true.
so when you go through a system, you come out and become that impactful, become that valuable as a talent that people want to have. In fact, one of the most smartest person I've ever met finished from IMSU. I think he changed a lot my perspective about the university. I'm very
Yeah,
sincere.
I'm also
I
an
know
IMSU.
him.
Well,
Um,
I didn't necessarily go to IMSU because my institute, the Kelechukwu Institute of Philosophy, is affiliated to IMSU. But our lecturers were mostly those who taught in IMSU. My rector in the institute was the head of department in IMSU. So it was like there was a marriage of
okay.
and a share of ideas. But yeah, I understand your point. When you talk
Exactly.
about big
You are
universities
the
in
product.
Nigeria, IMSU doesn't always come to
I
mind.
know it
Yeah,
doesn't have
yeah.
the best impression
Yeah, name
on the
recognition is not
university.
there, and yeah, that's clear. So it's just for those coming from those universities thinking that the Badons and the Unsukas are taking
It
everything. That's not
doesn't.
necessarily true.
Yeah, you are the product. So
Yeah, yeah,
The
that's true.
guys that just won, that sold their startup for $200 million, they went to Babcock, right?
Yeah, well,
And you will say, okay, in the past, people would just have private universities,
so trash.
people from the federal universities, and they obey for me and the rest.
Yeah,
So I think at the end of the day, you are the product, and always be conscious about that.
that's true. So any final words? We've talked a lot today already. I know probably you have other things to do. I shouldn't keep you awake. Are you in Germany presently?
Yes, I'm in
Well, I should be
Germany.
speaking German to you instead. Biggest year.
Good, Uber, yeah. So do you
Yeah,
speak
alles
some
super,
German?
alles super. Sprechen Sie sehr gut Deutsch oder ein bisschen Deutsch?
Yeah, that's good.
So do you speak very good Deutsch or a little bit?
I heard a bit, a
A
bit.
bit. Oh, that's good.
I
Well, how
understand.
many years have you stayed? Now we are trading off from normal conversation, but it's okay. How many how many
Yeah,
years have you stayed in
overall,
Germany? What?
I always say Europe. In Europe, actually, because I moved a lot between
A
Europe
lot.
and
Yeah,
Germany.
yeah,
So
yeah.
7 years.
That's true. You had this joint Erasmus. Yeah, that's interesting. I was there for 2 years because I did my master's
Mm,
there, and I worked for a
mm.
year before coming back to the UK. So I was able to learn. We did the normal German course that we
German
had to learn, but
classes.
mine was just
Mm.
4 months, so it wasn't that much.
Okay.
Yeah, I just struggled to learn the language on my own. So, any final words for our scholars?
Yes,
Any?
I would say that like the final word is that when you are passionate about something because you feel is the next step for you, in this case, scholarship, that is what you need to advance to your next step, then you need to put all that focus on it. And definitely, it's just a matter of time you would get it. People that get scholarships are those that wait, right, and take their chance when it comes. And also just be conscious of how much effort and time that this requires. So you don't
Mm,
do 1,000 things at the end of the day. I think my last word would be that be conscious that more most times is not the best. Less is
okay,
more. Okay.
that's
So
good.
the less you have and focus and giving your best, the better for you than
That's a
doing
good one.
1,000 and really not giving your best to any of them.
Okay, that's a good one. So, are you
Yeah,
open to
Victor,
sharing
thank you for
your?
having me on the show.
Yeah, are you open to sharing your probably your contact on LinkedIn? Is your mentorship program still open in case there are people who are
Yes, yes.
interested in? So I could
I
attach your
think for the
contacts to this
mentoring
video.
program, so the LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile is fine. You can attach it on the video. And I think most of your listeners will probably already be people that are familiar with
Yeah,
LinkedIn
exactly.
already.
I think
And
so.
for the new people, yes, of course, send a connection. You can always chat me up. I try to be responsive as possible. It's not always easy, but I try.
Okay, you. I've not
I
checked my
believe in
inbox for
continuous
years,
learning. Yeah.
for weeks now. I'm very busy.
Yeah. So you can imagine what that means too.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
yeah,
can
and
imagine.
at the end of the day, don't think you need me to respond to a message for you to be able to apply to a scholarship, or
That
for
is
Victor
true.
or
Yeah,
anybody.
I think that should be the major lesson of the
You
day.
are dependent enough. You have a lot of resources. You have all these avenues. Make use of them,
Yeah,
and you
that's
will be
important.
fine.
So thank you very much. It has been a lengthy discussion. I hope we're able to post all of the videos at once. I'll probably break it into two. I'll check the time anyway and see if it's necessary to do maybe a part one and a part two, or do it at once. Well, thanks for
For
coming by.
discussion.
Yeah, I know time is money, and even though it's night there, probably have other things to do. So, Dankeschön. Do
Danke
spreach.
auch.
Okay,
Schön.
let us not go into German now. So thank you very much. I might end the recording now, but I would you could stay around so we'll chat a little bit.
Okay.
So I am very sure lots of people have learned lots of things from this conversation. So it's it was an enjoying personally it was an enjoying and entertaining conversation. Yeah.
I agree.
So let me end the recording. Yeah.
Wow, guys, that was indeed an interesting interview with Dr. Kelechukwu. And I hope you got one or two things. I hope you got lots of things actually from the interview because it was quite informative. And yes, I'll drop his link below this video in case you want to get in contact with him on LinkedIn, and you could exchange one or two info with him and tell him you came from here. I think he'll be glad to know that you connected to him after watching this video. And yes, I hope you've been able to equip yourself with a lot of information on this scholarship space. And if there is one important point you should get from all the discussion and questions and we had today is that you can do it yourself. There are several resources out there that will enable you achieve success. So watch my video. There are several other videos out there. There's several other contents on the net, and yes, I think it's achievable. Do not feel if you don't have somebody with hands-on experience on your work will not excel. That's not necessarily true. I did mine without anybody. Yeah, but I was able to find some materials online that I read and softwares I used and things like that that helped me. So you could also do the same if you cannot find somebody that would give your application, your statement of purpose, a personal touch, personal effort to help you brush it up. And that's it, guys. Thanks for sticking by. And until next time, I will see you later. Hopefully, more of these kinds of interviews will come up once in a while to spice things up on this channel. And until next time, guys, stay inspired. Bye bye.